I'm going to start with a confession most of us have had at some point. We see a cheap acoustic electric hybrid on a bargain site, click Add to Cart, thinking we've scored a deal, only to discover a few weeks later that the onboard effects sound like a ringtone on a tinny speaker. The battery dies after a couple of practice sessions, and the whole thing ends up gathering dust in the corner. That regret is why I'm a little skeptical whenever a brand tries to pack reverb, delay, chorus and Bluetooth into one box. The question I keep hearing from fans in the comments is whether the Yamaha TAS1 touted as a TansAcoustic, with a solid spruce top and mahogany back actually lives up to that promise, or if it's another overhyped gadget that will leave you wishing you'd spent a little more on a conventional acoustic. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. I spent a good amount of time digging through the spec sheet, reading the few forum threads that mention the TAS1, and watching a handful of YouTube demos that actually plug the guitar into a PA and into a smartphone. What emerged was a picture of a guitar that tries to be a bridge between the pure acoustic world and the plug-in stage player, and the trade-offs that come with that ambition. First, let's talk about the actual wood. Yamaha's use of a solid Sitka spruce top with mahogany back and sides is a move you usually see on mid-range acoustic models that are praised for their warm, balanced tone. In practice, that combination gives the TAS1 a surprisingly full low-mid response when you're just strumming unplugged. I tried it in a small living room setting, and the open chords filled the space without any assistance from an amp. That's a solid indicator that the acoustic core isn't a compromise for the electronics. If you're the type who still wants a genuine acoustic feel for fingerstyle pieces or casual jam sessions at home, the guitar feels as if it could sit nicely next to a standard Yamaha FG series in that respect. Now, the electronics. Yamaha built in 3 basic effects: reverb, chorus, and delay, and kept the control layout deliberately simple: 1 knob for each effect, a master volume, and a small LCD that toggles the battery indicator. The reverb, which is often the most used effect on an acoustic electric, is surprisingly smooth. In a real-world test with a modest PA system, the reverb added enough depth to make a solo acoustic piece sound almost like a small hall, without turning the note articulation into a wash of noise. The chorus is subtle but effective for rhythm parts, and the delay, while not a studio-grade emulation, provides a quick repeat that works well for simple echo effects in a folk rock setting. Because the controls are separate, you can dial in each effect without having to navigate menus, something that matters when you're on stage and need to tweak a sound in the middle of a song. Bluetooth audio is where the TAS1 tries to differentiate itself from generic acoustic electric combos. The guitar has a built-in Bluetooth receiver that lets you stream music directly from your phone or tablet to the guitar's internal preamp. In a practical sense, it becomes a handy backing track device for solo practice. I loaded a favorite blues progression onto my phone, paired it, and the guitar's preamp fed the playback through an amp. The latency was low enough that the rhythm stayed in time with my strumming, no noticeable lag that would throw off a live performance. That said, the Bluetooth connection can be a bit finicky if you have a crowded 2.4 GHz environment, and you may need to reconnect after a few songs. It's not a deal breaker, but it's worth noting if you plan to use the feature frequently. Battery life is another factor that often goes unmentioned until you're mid-gig and the power light flashes red. The TAS1 runs on a Lion pack that charges via a magnetic connector, which eliminates the need for a removable battery compartment. In my testing, a full charge lasted about 5 hours of continuous playing with all 3 effects engaged, which for a typical rehearsal or small gig is more than adequate. If you're a gigging musician who expects to play multiple sets without a chance to plug in, you'll have to plan for a spare charger or an external battery pack. Conversely, for home practice or short performances, the battery life feels generous. So who should actually consider the TAS1? If you're a beginner to intermediate player who wants an all-in-one instrument that can transition from bedroom practice to small venue gigs without buying a separate effects rack or external preamp, this guitar makes sense. The built-in effects are straightforward enough that you won't get lost in menus, and the Bluetooth feature adds a layer of convenience for playing along with backing tracks. It also appeals to songwriters who like to record ideas on the fly. Plug the guitar into a laptop or phone, hit record, and you have a decent sounding demo in minutes. On the flip side, seasoned players